even better. It's even better. Today we have with us Dianne Stewart Hamlin. She's a religious science practitioner. She's also an agape practitioner. And she's a lawyer, and she's a spiritual counselor and leadership trainer and such. And so the scriptures just go on and on. And I was privileged to meet Dianne when she first came to Celebration Center. They moved from California here, and she took foundations with me, and even continued classes even after that strange foundation class. So I was just pleased to know that her path has led her to being a practitioner, and she's at Agape now studying ministerial school. So she's going to be a full-fledged reverend one day, right? A revered one. And it's just so wonderful to have her here and have her bless us with her being presence. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, and the energy. Good morning. It's good to see you. It's good to be here. Thank you, Reverend Faith. I always think about that class. Very interesting. You know, and we're still here. Yes. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful today to be in the presence and to be aware of the presence of God that is right where I am, right where we all are always. There's no place ever. When the kids were small here, we used to teach them there's no spot where God is not. And when you just completely align with that awareness that right where you are, God is, you can live your life in such fullness. And recently, I went through what I term as a dark night of the soul. You know, and it's such an interesting thing, because when you say that, sometimes people like constrict and react, you know, like it's a bad thing. And the real truth is that wherever you are in your life, whatever you are going through, as long as you remain aligned with the awareness that the power and presence of all that is right where you are, that experience becomes a holy experience. It becomes a magnificent experience, because right where you are, the ground that you stand on is holy. God is there everywhere. So even in the place where you're experiencing darkness, there God is. And so there's a process, right? You get in there and it's dark and it's, you know, it feels bad. It doesn't feel good. You don't feel expanded. You do feel some constriction. And you start to, you know, you start to get tunnel vision about things. And what I started to do when I realized, and it takes a while, because for me, I'm sometimes a little slow. Sometimes a little slow. I don't realize that I'm like, you know, spiraling into this place. And I don't realize it's happening until something happens. I have an awareness, an awakening that says, whoa, what's going on? This is not your normal thing. This is not your normal way of being in the world. And I start to look at, why am I here? So the first question I ask is, what am I here to learn? Because sometimes we find ourselves back in the same place. Like, I've been here before. I have been here in this kind of sadness before, this kind of darkness before. Why am I back here again? And for me, what I've come to understand is I will continue to call forth the experience that I have to have in order to learn the lessons that I'm here to learn. So it does not matter, and we all do it. We keep calling forth the same experience. The players may be different. You know, you might look around and you'll be in one experience, and if you've got a Reverend Faith, you know, and you've got a Chet, you know, and you've got a Dennis, and you've got a Madison, and then all of a sudden, you know, you go through your experience and you learn some things, and so you think, oh, I've learned everything I need to learn here, and you move on. But if you have not actually taken full advantage of the experience and been present in the experience, to pay attention to what each interaction is here to teach you. What are you here to give to it? What are you here to bring to it? If you don't do that in its fullness, you're going to have to come back to the lesson so that you can learn that thing again. And so the topic, right, is receptivity and graciousness. And I've been thinking about, you know, one of the things that one of my clients asks me all the time, she says, will you tell us, You tell me all the time that, there's greatness within me. I am here with this magnificent gift to give. And she says, I don't really feel like that. I kind of feel like, I'm a run-of-the-mill person that's here to do some things in the world, do my job, live my life, and go on. And I said, well, everything is great when you think about, and the reason why I say there's greatness in everyone, when you just think about the basics about yourself, like you're in your body, and you can be aware of your body and how it's working, but a lot of its inner workings has nothing to do with you. Certainly you can fine-tune and you can eat well and you can do all the things to keep your body working well, but the fact that it is working on its own without your assistance or permission says that there's greatness within you. You are made out of a great substance. The substance of all creation is right where you are. That's what I mean when I say there's greatness. And you may not be a big entertainer. You may not be an Oprah, because that's not where your greatness lies, but everyone, everywhere has greatness within them. And so how do we become receptive to it? Every day, and I was thinking about that, it's none of us live a normal life. We all live a life. If you start looking back at some of the stuff, because I think about my childhood. I was a little girl in Jamaica. I was a little girl in Falmouth. We played, we had a small town. Everybody knew you, knew who you belonged to, knew who was responsible for you. Everyone was a Miss this or a Mr. that, and all your friends, you all played together. And then all of a sudden, here I am. And if I were to tell you some of the stories in between there and here, it would blow you away. And you look at life and you're thinking, how did I get there? None of us, right, living a normal life. But the deal is you are here for a purpose. You're not accidental. That's why you have your own unique blueprint, your own individual fingerprint. You are here to leave your own mark on the world, whatever it is, whatever corner of the world you are living in. But how do you do that? You're here to live full out. You have to develop your gifts and talents, develop your inner self so that you can live wholly and fully and live the life that you were here to live. You have to let go of the blinders. You have to allow yourself to walk through the dark places and not get stuck. There's a scripture that says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. It doesn't say, yea, though I go there and pitch a tent and live there forever. It doesn't say that. It says you walk through it. And when you're going through something that's dark and sad and scary, you walk through it. You look at it. You say, what am I here to bring to this situation? And what is the situation here to bring to me? And you made it full on. And you do things like forgive yourself. You forgive yourself for being small. You forgive yourself for holding on to things that don't serve you. You forgive, and when I say that, people sometimes talk to me like, well, does that mean I have to, change all my relationships and my friends and get a new job because I'm not happy there? No, I'm not saying alter your entire life. I'm saying give yourself permission to enjoy the life you have. Give yourself permission to be receptive to all that Spirit is unfolding in and as your life. If you are sad, why am I sad? The other day I had to again give myself permission to forgive myself. There are things that go on that I take whole soul responsibility for. It is all my fault because I am all important and the creator of all that is, right? And so not thinking, about the fact that everybody's here on their own individual journey, and some journeys I might be there to participate in, but it's not mine, and it's not my fault, and I am not the doer of the thing, I'm not the cause of, I cannot cause you to feel sad. You choose sadness as your own. You choose sadness as the emotion that you're going to process to go through the experience, but don't stay stuck there. So I had to give myself permission because it was a process. I had to tell myself, wait, you're gonna have to forgive yourself for this. And then I had to go into a forgiveness practice and let myself off the hook. Let myself off the hook. One of the things that we do in life is we go through life with a hook. And we put everybody on the hook for every transgression, real or imagined. Because some of the transgressions that we have people on the hook for, we made it up in our heads. It didn't actually happen that way. The intention was never there. But because of our life experiences and our journey, we view things through our lens. And when we start looking through our lens, we're not necessarily seeing what actually happened. We're seeing our version, our reality of the story. And when you step back from it and you really contemplate the situation, you are able to see that this was not the intention. And you're able to forgive yourself, first of all, for, the hook hanging. And then you got to let the other person off the hook and move through the process and let go. That doesn't mean that in doing so, you go and lay yourself as a doormat to have it happen again, right? And it doesn't mean that in letting yourself off the hook that you get permission to continue to behave in that way either. But you certainly need to forgive yourself and stop holding yourself at the lowest place of accountability and start having better standards for yourself every day and gently, lovingly nurture yourself back into feeling wholeness, back into feeling centered, back into feeling connected to the power in the presence. So you become receptive to all that God has in store for you, because life has brought you here for a purpose. You are in your body for a purpose. There is value to the way you live your life. Everywhere you go, you bring all of yourself and the fullness of yourself. But if you are constricted, and if you are not nurturing yourself, and if you are not doing your inner work, if you are not praying in joy, as Ed read in that beautiful reading, praying in joy, bringing the fullness of who you are, building gratitude, if you are not doing all of that, you're not bringing your full self. So what you're doing is you're sort of moving through the world, really, and you're robbing yourself of the full experience of life itself. When you do that, we can't all participate together in the growing and unfolding of life. So you have to become receptive to all that God has in store for you. Life brings you many opportunities. We were talking about this. I was talking with my cousin about windows of opportunities. They close, but other ones open. Life brings you opportunities. The question is, which ones are you willing to receive? Which ones are you willing to nurture? Which ones are you willing to say, I am in this thing here now, whether it's a job, whether it's ministerial school, whether it's becoming a practitioner, whether it's becoming committed to a spiritual life. What am I receptive to, and what am I willing, which opportunity am I willing to seize? You start to walk through the world aware of opportunities. A conversation is an opportunity. I had 2 conversations with Reverend Faith yesterday. The first one was a quick call, and then the second one was like, oh wait, there was an opportunity there. Stop. Call her back. And I did that, and we had a second conversation, which was much more expansive than the first one, because I brought myself to the conversation. So every single thing, when you walk through life, seeing every single moment as an opportunity to receive and to give, then you are receptive. But the way to do that, that's not a thing that you do just wake up. I mean, some people I'm sure do. But if you're going through the world and all the debris of the world is falling on you, you have practices that you have to engage in to keep yourself aware of what is really happening in life around you. One of the practices that I've had to do recently, I found myself locked and loaded on the news. I was like, why are you listening to the news? I didn't realize it until I started feeling heavy. And I started looking with some sort of the glasses weren't clean. They were tinted with this idea that all things are going wrong and things are bad, and people don't like each other, and racism, and black people, white people, yellow people, all of this was happening, and the bombings of the churches in the South that have started up again, or fires rather, and all these things, and I'm watching, and I forgot that it was not supposed to be entertainment for me or informational. It's a prayer request. It's an opportunity for me to pray, right? So I take time. I had this one practice was turn off the news in the car. The other spiritual practice was don't watch the news after the weather. Once they give the weather, that's your cue, turn it off. Don't go into these chat rooms with these Facebook groups, because all they're talking about is, how victimized they are and how hard it is and why they gotta work. And I know you have to be there for professional reasons, but don't go in there for long. These people are not your friends. These people are just living out the script, right? The agreed upon script. But we are coming out of that agreement, right? So one of the things is to come out of the agreement that life is so hard and horrible and difficult, and we are all different and all of this, and we don't see our uniqueness as a part of a unique emanation of the Most High. We see our uniqueness as separation. That agreement cannot be broken unless you start with spiritual practice. So the first thing you have to do is you got to turn off the news, because really all you're doing is listening to the rehearsal of what's bad. There's nothing that they're talking about on the news that's good. If it is, it's like 2 minutes. And then the other 28 minutes of the 30-minute news is about what's bad and what's broken, what's damaged. So you've got to make a commitment to stop listening and stop rehearsing and stop practicing what is broken, and start looking at how can we create a world together that actually works for everyone, that actually creates love and peace and joy, and a place where we can celebrate life and wake up happy instead of waking up like, oh God, another day. We got to come together and want to all be able to be alive and awake and aware and present in the world and enjoy this experience while we're still in the body. Because we have no idea what happens next. So while you're in this incarnation, do something fantastic with it. Be in joy. Be in love. Be in light. So we turn off the rehearsals, okay? Because we stop rehearsing that. We stop reliving it. We stop having conversations about it. We start to change our conversation. We start to ask people, quite honestly, how are you? And don't make it a greeting. Have it be part of a conversation. Don't say, hi, how are you? And keep going. Really stop and say, hi, how are you? How are you doing today? I hope you have a good day. That quick interaction changes the energy for you and them, because you have just released a lot of chemical joy in your body just by making eye contact and wishing someone a good day. So you start there. And those are your conversations. You shift your conversations. You stop talking about what's broken and damaged. Certainly it's necessary to hear it. Certainly it's necessary to know what's going on in the world so we know what we're praying about. But it's also really important for us to activate love and joy and peace within ourselves and within each other. So we start there. We turn off the rehearsal, right? We turn off the script. That's one thing we do. The next thing we do is we pray. We pray all the time. And we don't pray for things. We give thanks for what we have. And we give thanks for what is unfolding as our lives. And we make sure that part of our prayer work is to say, thank you, life. Thank you, energy. Thank you, love. Thank you, spirit. Thank you, joy. I'm in my body. I can't tell you how many times this week I woke up and went, I'm still in my body. Yes. Because every moment that I'm in my body means that opportunity is still present. I still have an opportunity to live the life, to dream the dream, to tap into the place within my soul where there is perfect joy and peace and harmony. So I pray. And then I get out and I sit with myself and I sit in the stillness. Because you got to also meditate. You got to really take time before you are off to the races, before you head out, before the chatter begins and the ongoing to-do list starts running through your mind. You stop and you get still. And you give thanks, and whatever amount of time that you can be still. It might just be 30 seconds. It might be 5 minutes. You breathe into the stillness. You allow yourself to become centered. You make sure that you give attention to your body. And you give thanks for all that you have given and received. You give thanks for the love and light of God that's showing up in, through, and as you. And you create a receptive field. So when the opportunities come, now that you're in a receptive field, one of the things that you ask, and my teacher Michael Beckwith always says, what am I here to do today? What is mine to do today? You ask for that. You ask, show me how I can serve. Give me a way to see the opportunity. Where can I be kind today? Where can I be loving today? Where can I support someone or help someone today? And you start your day with that. You start walking in a field of opportunity. So now you see all the windows of opportunities. The field is wide open and you can receive. But the other part of it is you have to be gracious enough to receive. You have to practice graciousness. And not just receive. Part of graciousness is to be grateful, to be thankful, to be gracious with a humble heart. And I don't mean a heart that says, oh, I'm so humble. When I was growing up, we were taught humility. I'm not going to speak about any religions, but we were taught humility to be lowly and humble and to sort of, again, constrict yourself and be still and be quiet and not be heard and keep, basically keep your head down and don't make any waves. That was the sort of humility we were taught. But humility is so much more, right? It's so much more. It's about being gracious enough to share your gifts and talents without like having to blow your own horn or toot your own horn. You could just share it with all of yourself. Bring your whole self to the party. Bring your whole self to the job. Bring your whole self to the relationship. Come with all of who you are, but with gratitude and thanksgiving that you get to do this. Like when I look at my children and I think I get to mother them. You know, through all of the challenges, I get to love them. I get to be here today and do this. I am so grateful because the journey has been very intense. And it's intense because, yeah, I'm kind of like wide open in the field of opportunities. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that come and a lot of stuff that me and my curiosity wants to engage in and a lot of opportunities that I often, maybe some I shouldn't have taken, but, you know, all of them unfolding divinely as me. All of them shaping me into the person that I am today, with the ability to be present with others, with the ability to be present for others, with the ability to just be. How grateful I am for that. So with graciousness, you receive your gifts. With graciousness, you receive all that you have. And then you start to have courage and confidence when you are gracious. You start to have confidence. You know, there was a time when the question was, what, me? Why would I? You know, it never occurred to me that I could not share my gifts and talents once I started doing the work, because I recognized that every single thing that I have, every single talent that I have is here for a purpose. There is a requirement that I share it. There is a requirement that I use it. And if I use my talents, I benefit and everyone around me benefits. When I do my work, for example, I am a really good cook. I cook really yummy food. But if I don't ever take a pot out, and if I don't ever get ingredients, and if I don't ever put it together and put it on the fire and prepare a meal, the people in my household never get to experience a healthy, delicious meal. Simple example of how it looks when you use your gifts and talents, when you do the things that you are here to do, utilizing every aspect of your beingness. You show up. You show up for all of who you are, whether it's that you're a magnificent cook, whether it's that you can draw so well, whether it's that you're a great photographer, whether it's that you have the ability to see color and see beauty and create magnificent room space, or even if it's that you're a teacher or you're whatever it is that you are. You might be someone that crochets really lovely, beautiful things and make a beautiful space every time you put one of your beautiful artwork somewhere for someone to use. It may be that you're a good conversationalist. You might be a good listener. Someone might need to be listened to, might need your ear. And when you do those kinds of things, when you share yourself with such graciousness, with such gratitude, with humility, and with a generous heart. Always giving of yourself with a generous heart. Always giving of yourself knowing that your givingness cannot be depleted. Certainly the body temple needs to rest, but it won't be depleted if you give of your time. Your time will never be depleted. Your ear will never be depleted. Your presence in someone's life will never be depleted. All you have to do is keep showing up as long as you're in your body with all of who you are, generously giving and receiving. So when you receive the blessing, when you see yourself, you might see yourself doing something that no one else in your neighborhood can do or is doing. And you could share that gift with your neighbors and change the entire energetic in the neighborhood just because you maybe shoveled their walkway when the snow fell, or maybe because there are many leaves and you swept her walkway too. You changed the energetic, even though you may never see the person and the person may never see you. There's a change that's created. So individually, our ordinary lives, our extraordinary lives are important and necessary. You are important right where you are, and if you are not there, the entire dynamic and energetic of that experience changes. So while you're there, bring yourself, be in prayer, be in meditation, be in awareness that it is important. And here's this really cool new thing that it's not new. I just refocused on this reality. You know, when I was talking earlier about the dark night, you know, going through that darkness and going through the dark night of the soul. is that the energy and the presence is always there, right? No spot where God is not. God is always there. So it's not that, now I have to crawl my way back to beings back into the light and out of the darkness. It's not that. I just have to shift my focus and return to myself. And sometimes there is a process for the restoration. Like yesterday I went to yoga for the first time in about 6 months. There's a process to that restoration. Let me tell you, all of that. Never mind. But there's a process, right, that you take to get yourself back aligned, your awareness aligned, because you're still plugged in, because you can't unplug. There is no such thing. And I hear people say it all the time, oh God, you gotta get plugged back in. No. You're always plugged in, you're always sourced. The power and the presence of God is always there. It's in your breath, it's in your breathing. It's your focus that has shifted. And if you return your focus, just start, the process, whatever that process is, to get back into alignment, to pay attention. You just start, you realize, I haven't been meditating all that good. Sometimes your meditation becomes an individual conversation with yourself, and you're not like in stillness because you're in the chatter. You can just remind yourself gently, return to you, return to your center, return to your truth. Remember that there's more time than needed than is necessary to do everything that you have to do. And you gently, lovingly remind yourself, right? Gently, lovingly remind yourself that I am aligned with the power and presence of all creation. Every single aspect of my beingness is amazing because I am created in this amazing image and likeness of all creation. The image and likeness of God itself is right where I am. That means that I have the same creative genius, the same creative substance, the same beauty and light and power. It's all in me. It's not outside of me. And I can tap into that anytime I want and remind myself that I'm already using it. So it's my awareness that needs to tap back into the truth of who I am. It's my awareness that needs to remember the breath of God is breathing me. And you bring yourself back to there. And then you celebrate. You celebrate every moment. You celebrate every success. And you celebrate the struggles and what appears to be the failures, because the failures are just stepping stones to the journey. So if there's a point where something falls apart or it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it, or it's not working out exactly as you think it should, there is an opportunity there for you to celebrate the opportunity to expand into more of your true self. Because sometimes what is happening is that we are calling forth the lesson so that we can expand. But we are so accustomed to remaining constricted that we are holding on to our limitations. You ever hear people argue for their limitations? You ever had that? You're talking to somebody and they're arguing with you for their limitations, and you're like, no, you can be amazing. You can love more. You can experience more. And they're like, no, I can't do it because my life has sucked up until this point. And everything that I've ever done in a relationship or everything that I've ever done in a job has been this way, so it'll never change. It's always been this way. It cannot change. And they're arguing for their limitations instead of arguing for their possibilities. Like, people, for example, like in relationships, they go through a relationship and it's really intense and it ends, it ends for whatever the reason. And then they hold on to the limitation that I'll never love again. I'll never open my heart like that. I'll never experience like that again. And so then they call forth, right? They start calling forth the same relationship with a different name. They start calling forth the same experience because they haven't learned the lesson. You're in the heartbreak because you haven't learned the lesson. You're in the failed job because you haven't learned the lesson. You're not getting ahead in your art or your creativity or whatever genius work that you're here to do because you haven't learned the lesson. So when you're there, celebrate the stumble, celebrate the pain, celebrate it and say, what is it here to teach me? How can I bring myself fully to this and walk through this and work through this and release this so I can step fully into all of who I am? And then you don't run from it. You don't say, no, I'm not doing this anymore, or no, I can't. You don't argue for the limitation. Argue for the possibility and bless it. What is it here to teach me? What am I here to learn? How can I expand more and more into who I am so that when I get to whatever spot I get to look back at my life, I can see all the stuff I've been through and how great and magnificently I thrived and prospered through it. Life is not a survival course. You are here to thrive and prosper. You are not here to survive. We are not survivors. We are prospering, living, thriving human beings. And we are here to experience life together, expand together, become more and more of who we are. God as us experiencing life through us, continuing to unfold. That is why we're here. So I invite you today to really celebrate your possibilities, really celebrate your expansiveness, and celebrate your challenges, because all of it is happening in the power and presence of God. All of it. And you are here to live, thrive, and prosper. Peace and blessings. So I ask you to just join me in prayer. As the practitioners or ministers are surrounding the room, just give thanks for this opportunity. So I just ask you to close the outer eye and listen with the inner ear. How grateful I am for this opportunity to be reminded that we are one with the power and presence of God, that where I am, God is always having its beingness in and as me, that this power, this presence that has every star hanging perfectly in the sky, this presence that keeps the earth rotating on its axis, this presence that is in every drop of water in the ocean, that is in the activity of the ocean and the waves, this presence that continues to usher in season after season and opportunity after opportunity is the power and presence that is in my life, that is me right here and right now. Every aspect of my beingness is one with it. Therefore, I am great and beautiful and magnificent and creative. I am. And so what is true for me is true for each and every person here. We are all the I am presence of God Almighty, all beauty, all joy. We are the prospering, thriving presence, and we are the ones that have come to change everything about mankind. We are here. We bring all of who we are, from the gentle hello and the gentle correspondence with each other, to the love, to the hugs, to the creative magnificence that we bring on the planet. We are all here to bring forth our highest and best to the planet, our highest and best to the world, that we can all thrive and prosper and have our beingness in and as the very power and presence of God. So I know that everyone in this room is absolutely receptive to all of God's many blessings that are unfolding in and as their lives right now. With graciousness and gratitude, we receive our gifts, we expand on our gifts, and we continue to grow our gifts, expanding into the greatest expression of who and what we are. We carry this light out into the world, giving others permission to shine their own lights, and we give thanks for the power and presence of God that is our very lives right here and right now. So I bless this day, naming it good and very good, and I release this word into the loving activity of the law, knowing it is already prospered, it is already done, because the universe, God itself, responds to us and says yes. And so I release this word now into magnificence and truth, and together we all say, and so it is. Amen.
So let's give Dianne some love. Thank you. And we welcome back Eli for his next song.